Hello, everyone, and today's our respectable and honorable guest, Dr. Sebutullah from Netherlands. He is the PhD computer scientist and also co-founder of Renewcast, which is the entrepreneurship startup in Amsterdam, Netherlands. So, Sibu Saab, thank you very much for joining this, and thank you for your patience to wait for this session. And we are a little bit late, not little bit, a much late. And welcome, Siva Saab. We are thrilled to have you here, and we want to learn from you from the transition from your academia to entrepreneurship. How this was the personal journey, and could you please share what motivated you to move from PhD to AI to becoming the startup founder, and what were the challenges you have faced during this transition, please?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I mean, it's really nice to come back here with you, Dr. Habib. I think we have had previously also another session on another topic, but yeah, always looking forward to come here. And regarding the journey, so I started my let's say professional academic journey at the end of 2018 when I started this PhD in Holland. And so well, it's basically what motivated me to become a co-founder and come towards this journey towards entrepreneurship is probably because of the way that my PhD was organized. So it wasn't, let's just put it this way, a normal standard academic work for 3 years. It wasn't like that. Um, it was a Marie Curie funded Erasmus Plus funded PhD program. So it was for 4 years, and half of the journey was in academia, half of the journey was in industry. So I basically got to see the both worlds. And when I was working in my PhD, that's when I realized that the real potential of the research that I was working on was quite high in terms of yeah industrial applications and so on, and probably we'll talk about that industrial applications research and development in another session. But for now, what I want to say here is that it was quite interesting because the research that we were doing was broadly speaking AI applications in automobile manufacturing, building construction, steel production. So really core industrial optimization, engineering optimization task that you can think of. So, and but I was not happy with only the academic work, with only the research papers, with only the academic. Let's just put it the academic value of that. I wanted to do something more because I knew that there is a lot of demand for this as we are evolving. So especially in terms of industry fourth industrial revolution. So that's essentially why I basically decided to move towards entrepreneurship because it's just academia was just incomplete for me. It did not make me feel complete in the sense that I have achieved the full potential of what I'm working on. So that's I think the number one reason why I decided to go this way rather than just starting just starting a normal job in university or even in industry. But yeah, that's
That's good. That's good. And Sugasa, one thing about the startup essentials. What were the critical steps and practical considerations someone, if want to start, should take when launching a tech startup in Netherlands?
well. I think that before starting um, before starting startup, a company, a venture at any place in the world, you obviously need to consider a lot of things, and one of those is that you really need to ask yourself, is this what I really want to do or not? Because it comes with risks and challenges. And not everyone is prepared to face that risk or challenge at every stage of their life. So you have to ask yourself, am I ready for this? The number one thing here is that, of course, you will not get money for certain few months of time or certain period of time. And so you have to ask yourself, are you going to be okay without it, without being paid, without actually, and it's possible that many people will come along the way that will question, who will question your startup, the idea, everything. They will question you. You have to be true to yourself, and face that challenge, and be happy, even not having any real upfront money, or monetization. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that I always think that it's really important to discuss this also with your partner upfront, because your family will suffer definitely because of this. It's politically incorrect to say this, but it's true. Your family will suffer for this, and they have to be ready. And if they're not on board, it's a difficult journey. So you have to be aligned. You have to be in alignment with your partner. You have to consider that there will be practical challenges in your personal life as a result of what you're doing, and that's that's more important.
That's nice. That's nice. And and one thing you mentioned about the business without being paid for how long? Definitely, there is no time limit for this, and the upfront money and what these kind of ingredients which everyone should know who want to start, and it
Yeah.
whether it depends on specific needs or something like that. In your case, for example, because this is AI and something infrastructure is not required.
I think that for me, I was living without money for almost 1 year. So that's not to say I was not living without money. I was living with money, but I was not being paid from here, from the startup. That is, and there are different paths. Like you can always use your own savings. In Holland, at least in Netherlands, there are these incubators or accelerators. They're quite competitive, so they usually ask for every semester they ask for some applications. They probably select one or two startups, and for those startups they immediately give you the money, so you can still pay yourself a decent minimum wage with that. So at least in Holland, I know that process is a little bit standardized. So at least, for example, in 2022 um, we had Holland startup, which is based in Utrecht. It's now dissolved. I think it's no longer active, but at least back in those days, some people could come up there, pitch up their idea, and if they like them, then they will give them money. With that money, they can at least start to pay themselves a minimum wage. So and that's also, for example, true. I think with Antler, in Antler is probably based in Amsterdam, but also probably based in Eindhoven. So there are these incubators, accelerators in Netherlands. They're quite competitive, but you can apply to them, and if you do get funding from them, they ask for 15-20% of the equity of the startup at the beginning, which is a lot, but you have to compromise on that in order to get their money, and then you probably don't have to worry that much, because you will still be paid at least for 1 year, 2 year, decent amount of money, salary, something. So as a co-founder, as a CEO, or as a CTO, so that's good enough. But for the places, I mean, if I extrapolate this to other places, then probably it's most likely your own savings that have to count.
Very nice, very nice. And Malsam, if you have any question, you can ask. And
Yeah, surely, surely. So now the question, your journey is very interesting, and you are one of the very, very few, especially in the subcontinent culture, the one who doing the PhD, he normally stick to the academia. It's very hard that he should go into the industry. But in your case, it's very nice to
Yeah.
see that somebody coming instead of pursuing academia, he's gone to industry. That's great. But can you take us through your PhD journey and
Yeah.
what was the thing that motivated to go from academia to industry, not to continue to serve in the academia? You may have been gone to the university and continue their professorship and would have excelled and keep on writing the letters and published papers and different. So why you left that
Yeah.
one, and just take us through that journey of
Yeah.
PhD before that, what you were doing, what you have done. Is was your mindset before starting the PhD that you have to go to industry, or all of a sudden the transition come through that project and through your PhD?
No, I think that you cannot plan these things, that much in advance. So you cannot say 5-10 years ago I'm going to go to industry. it's a journey, and with the journey there will be a lot of things that will come your way, and you have to, I mean, every journey evolves you as well, so it makes you a different person. In my case, I think the PhD was quite fantastic. I had a really nice supervisor who gave me total freedom to do whatever I wanted to do in my PhD. That's rare, I must say. And so when I was pursuing, during the PhD journey, I was pursuing most of the time research ideas that I wanted to, that I wanted to explore. So there was no pressure or anything from him or from anyone else. So, but why I essentially decided not to stay in academia and go to industries, this comes to, probably you can say, personal taste. I feel like academia is just too competitive. When it it's too competitive, and at the end of the day there is just not enough growth. So they ask you to write papers. Oh, you have to get funding. Oh, you have to write papers. Oh, you have to get, your H index should be this. All of these things. And what do they pay you? That's just a measly pay. I'm sorry to say, for all the people, hardworking people who do work in academia. That's just the fact that they are not paid, what they would be paid in the industry. So I mean, it comes down to like your own, I would say, growth and stagnation. Uh, yeah, your own growth and stagnation, let's say, merits. So for me, it was a clear cut that if I wanted to stay in academia in an extremely competitive environment, keep working on the weekends, keep working 60 hours per week, then all I get is just a personal satisfaction, and not this is not translated into, uh, this is not translated into your actual, in terms of, for example, remuneration, in terms of work-life balance, in terms of actual growth, and so I think that's academia is just in the past, so now the competitive people, smart people, when they come in academia, they don't stay for too long because it's just not for them, because academia doesn't offer them too much.
So, looks
Right.
like many people, young students who are mostly our viewers who are listening us, we have just received one question from them. He's
Yeah.
saying, so can we conclude from your discussion that academia doesn't suits you, it doesn't serve you well, you didn't make up so much money as industry with less work and more output in terms of money in industry. While in academia, it is not the case. You have to put a lot of hard work and you are not rewarded that much. Is it so?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And for the people who do want to go to academia, I don't stop anyone. I think that's academia is a wonderful place to be, but you have to understand what you're getting. So what I'm saying here is that don't have false expectations. You have to understand that in academia, the best thing that you will have is your own personal satisfaction, and the fact that you are increasing the knowledge of the humankind, all those things. That's nice. There's nothing, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing bad about that. But you have to know that that's
Yeah,
what you're getting. And for me, that's just not enough. I think that
yeah.
there has to be something tangible at the end of it, something more productive.
Okay.
It's not just about the
So the
feeling for
Ali,
me. So
yeah. Dr. Ali is asking the question is that what is the fun of doing PhD if somebody has to go to industry? Don't you think that master is enough? But normally it said bachelor is enough, but okay, let's do the master. Or do you have to go industry? Is it PhD important, or don't you think it's not that much important?
well, as I said, so whether or not PhD is important is that's the question that you have to answer. Why is it important for you? Like,
Yeah.
if you think that, yeah, getting the mastery of everything, technical, having a research background, because that helps you prepare for a lot of the scenarios in practical life as well. If you think having yeah, I mean having a methodology for every time, learning all these things is important, and you're willing to spend 3-4 years of your life, then yeah, maybe you should do it. But for most people, I would say no, that's not the answer. So, uh, rule of thumb here is like this: if you're going into, if you have a PhD offer in front of you, ask yourself, do I 100% want this or not? If the answer is no, don't go for it.
So this means it needs a full-time commitment and dedication. And if you're not ready to sacrifice everything, then don't go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
Half-hearted
don't
man
do
is
it.
not required
Also
in
because
Germany.
it does not offer you that much in advance. It does not offer you that much anyways. Like like what I'm saying here is are the practical metrics. Like I'm not saying knowledge and all these things, mastery. You don't have to be a guru. You don't have to be the godfather of AI to earn a decent salary and so on. So if your
Yeah.
if your goal is to be practical, then be practical. That's what I say.
Okay. Okay, now another question we got from Raza. He's asking us that I want to do master in electrical engineering from the Holland. Can you guide me through? Is it suitable or should I come? Can you just any idea you want to
Yeah,
guide him?
I think that these days it's unfortunately I would say no, and the reason why I would say that is because so in Netherlands now we have a far right government that wants to limit the number of international students coming to the Netherlands, and so also as a result of that, many universities have actually stopped some English programs, and so they're already limiting the scope of the international programs that are offered in English. So and then besides that, once you do come to Netherlands, it's quite expensive. The education here is not subsidized. It's only subsidized for European students and local students. So you still have to pay full-time tuition fee just like you would pay somewhere else. But I would say that the near best thing probably would be to come to Germany where you don't have to pay tuition fee. So that's already 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 USD that you saved. So I mean, yeah, basically coming to Netherlands is a quite expensive a process, and I would say first do your master somewhere else and then come here for job. There are many opportunities here for sure. It's a growing economy, and it's also one of the yeah, most tech savvy places in Europe. For example, in the Brainport part of the Netherlands, in Eindhoven and those areas, there are quite good companies. Philips, ASML. There's a lot of technical things going on, semiconductor sectors, all of that, and you have the opportunities to come here. But when you come here as international students, upfront you have to pay a lot of money. Be prepared that there will be problems. There is housing shortages in Holland, so I'd say first do your master somewhere else, like places like Germany, somewhere where you don't have to pay a lot of fees, and then come here and look for opportunities and jobs. So that would probably be a better uh, yeah, that would probably be a better outcome.
Okay. Now, meanwhile, you are answering this question. We have got a question from Elise and put in a second question that if I can do the master's in electrical engineering from Austria, so will it be a better option then to come to Holland and how I can come to Holland? Is this something like he's asking?
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing an electrical engineering in Austria, most certainly you can come to Netherlands. I think once you do, as I said, once you do finish your masters, depends on what you're doing in your masters, obviously. But if it's related to semiconductor, if it's related to electronics, if it relates to chip manufacturing, if it's related to energy sector, I think there are a lot of opportunities for electrical engineering students in Netherlands, and in Brainport region especially. There are big companies. So some of the biggest tech companies in Europe. So for example, ASML is the biggest tech company in Europe. So that's already they already have quite a lot of jobs related to, for example, meteorology, yeah, electronics, physics, optics. So yeah,
So you think that idea is right to do the masters from any European country and then plan to come to the Holland and in order to search for the job.
yeah,
So can you take us
yeah.
just
I
through
think that sounds
what
nice.
are yeah? Can you take us through what are the if you somebody has done the masters or let's suppose Austria, Germany, from any European country, so he can how he can come to Holland? He has to directly find the job from there, or he can come there, can stay in Holland, then find the job. What's going to be the procedure? Just shortly, briefly, can you tell us?
In Netherlands, there's probably an orientation year visa, so you can. I think
Okay.
again, I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on this, but I just think from the top of my head that there is an orientation year visa. So if you have something substantial, I think it depends on the education, qualification, and so on. You can apply for orientation year visa and come to the Netherlands. You will be yeah, you'll get 1 year residence permit, and within that you can find look for jobs. And yeah, I would say that coming to the Netherlands, that's probably the best possible way through the orientation year visa. But equally, I would say that once you are in this final 6 8 months of your master, start looking for jobs already. Don't wait until the last day. 6 and 8 months is a pretty decent amount of time to get a job in Netherlands. Like you can apply for multiple places, and obviously you will be filtered, and hopefully you'll get a position somewhere. Because as I said, there are a lot of job opportunities, and you need to give yourself a lot of time and preparation. And with that, it can most certainly be done.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, Dr. Habib, if you can pursue, want
Yes,
to pursue.
yeah. And Sivasa, one thing, what advice would you give if for any PhD students or early stage researchers they want to start entrepreneurial journey? What
Yeah.
specific advice you will provide? Yeah, you will share, please.
Yeah, as I said, for example, first look at your finances. Not everybody's ready at every stage of the life. You don't have to start your entrepreneurship journey just because other people are doing it. You have to do it when you think you're ready. But I would say one thing here is that earlier is better, because, and the reason why I say that is because of the social fabric that's in our society. Because as we grow old, we have more and more responsibilities, and then it's much more difficult to have that time, have that luxury of experimenting, with your time, with your money, all of those things. So I would say, first of all, even when you're in your student's life, try, do experiments. And you don't have to be a super qualified PhD. Even if, for example, during your PhD you think that there's something great that you can work on as an entrepreneurship, go for it if you think there's a potential. PhD is not the end of the journey. It's not, you don't have to show the others that you have a PhD. It's for you. If you want it, 100% committed, go for it. But if you think in the meantime there's something else that can give me more, that, that can give you more of a, remuneration, more of a reward, then why not go for that? So I think it's important to be practical about this PhD.
So,
The other thing here is that if you are during your PhDs, you are working on research, try to monetize it as much as possible. Not everything that you will produce in the research papers or will be monetized, because it's public knowledge. Because what you will share in these journals, and or in these conferences, is publicly available knowledge. But you will still have a head start on what is more promising. What are the So basically you can kind of select your niche, if you would, and that can give you a head start. So try to look for these things. For example, if you are in LLMs, you are working on large language models, natural language processing, ask yourself what kind of applications could be interesting for the work that you are doing. And are there enough people, are there enough companies in the world that are working on this? Is there something that can be built on top of this? And that can already give you quite a lot of advantage. And
so
unfair advantage is all that is needed. Unfair advantage is always needed in a startup. And that unfair advantage could be the fact that you have a certain skill set that most people won't have.
So, about the unfair advantage, what, for example, for your case, what kind of, because you are Pakistani and Pakistani will be if interested. For example, unfair advantage was kind of unfair advantage, and also for your services at Renewables, your company, what specific services or what specific tasks you are doing based on AI, so that any other person who has the background of AI but not in deep as yours, they can link their PhD or their research with this kind of startup to think about that.
Well, I think that what I'm doing here as a co-founder, I also work as a client onboarding and operations manager. So basically, what this means is that for the clients that, well, before even saying what I do, it's important to say what we do as a startup, which is we provide the forecasting services to independent power producers throughout Europe. So because in Europe, the energy sector is privatized. This means that any person or legal entity can start producing energy and sell it to network operators, grid operators, um, the yeah, grid stations. So for those people that are working in the renewable energy, for example, if they have two wind turbines or solar parks, the energy that they produce is quite stochastic. It's quite volatile because it depends on wind speed and clouds and sunlight and temperature and the angle of the angle of the sunlight, and so on. So the point here is that that energy is quite volatile, it's quite random, it's quite stochastic, so you have to predict it to have real business value, because you want to know that how much energy am I going to produce in next 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. So basically this is what we do. There are independent power producers who have these, they produce energy, we tell them how much energy their wind park or solar park is going to produce in a certain forecast time. That's what we do. What I do within that is basically anytime a new client that comes up, basically try to design their custom data pipelines for them. So uh, having the input data, which is basically, for example, SCADA data, meteorological data, wind speed, wind direction, temperature, air pressure, humidity, active power of the turbines, all those measurements, all those time series, I take them, basically try to process them, and put them in a certain, in our database, so that from then the downstream machine learning applications can use that data. So it's basically classic ETL, extract, transform, load. I take some input and basically I transform it into a certain format which is acceptable for our models, for acceptable for
But
our.
Sibu sir, we want to understand that IPP. You observe that IPP, how they do and how you integrate your model services with them. For example, input data you are taking from IPP, or it is something third party services or
No,
something like.
no, we need the input data from the IPPs, because we have to build customized model for them.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
because we need to, so imagine this: there is a guy who owns a wind park, and there's a wind park, for example, assume certain location in Europe, for example, Italy. We have a lot of
Yes.
clients from Italy. So in Italy, on a hill, they have a certain geography, a terrain, and they have 10, 20 wind turbines there. So now they come to us and say, we are giving energy to the grid station, but the grid station is, giving us thousands or millions of euros of fine each year because of the energy balancing, because we don't tell them in advance how much energy we are going to produce, and please help us. So what we tell them is, okay, first of all, tell us the coordinates, the geographic coordinates, location of those turbines, so that we start fetching downloading the weather data about those things. And next, what we need from you is the actual, what are the turbines, what are the manufacturers, what is the basically nominal capacity, installed capacity of those turbines, what is the power curve, hub height, all those things. So basically all the metadata information about the turbines. That's the global information. Then we need the historical time series of those turbines, each turbine, measurements of last 3, 4 years, whatever is available of data every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, the active power, the wind speed. Basically, there's a measurement system in every turbine. And for
But
simplicity,
this data you are taking directly from online resources, or it's
that,
available
that
from
depends on that depends on clients. That depends on
clients?
clients. How do they want to give us? And not every client is quite tech savvy, so you have to understand that not every client would be. Some people just work with manual files even, and some have quite sophisticated APIs. Some have their own SFTP servers, so they can just give us credentials and say, well, you have the SFTP server, yes, just give us the access, just you can get down that data from there. So it's basically, yeah, every kind. It basically depends on the client. It basically
That's
depends
right.
on
That's right.
what is their
Also,
level of sophistication and with their IT department. So basically,
also,
you have to be prepared for everything. You can be given Excel files and then you have to do everything yourself. But you can also be given credentials to the API. So
very nice, very nice. And which platform you are using? And Malsab, you can ask after this. You can ask questions. Which platform you are using for the artificial intelligence, Python, and which PyShop, or what kind of software you are using for this research?
we primarily work in Python. Our tech stack is quite generic. It's quite standardized that you can also see in other AI applications. So Python, Microsoft, um, PyTorch. Yeah.
Py-
So
uh, so,
and then standard data science libraries that come with it. For example, pandas, NumPy, these kind of
very
things.
good, very
They
good.
always come with.
Simultaneously, one important thing, if we have a very brief session in the coming days, inshallah, just to have the brief overview for only one pilot project, you will brief, you will share the screen and see how you are doing. It will be very helpful, I think so. How the business mindset, how they are working and they are manipulating the data. This will be very good if you have one project already done. If you can have that case study, only one case study will be enough for the session.
Yeah, I think I can't promise that right now because all of it is obviously client data, confidential information. So, yeah, if there is a
No,
permission,
for example, any raw data, for example, about the data, if there is confidential, something at the sample data, and just to
okay,
manipulate
yeah,
and just to
we
see.
can, yeah, for sample data from the internet, yes, you can definitely do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Absolutely, no
That's what
problem.
we need. It will be very interesting because anyone who want to transform their PhD, Malak sir, PhD to the business, it will be very startup like the chat GPT we are doing practical things when we'll see anyone can understand. Oh yeah, that's wonderful, and I can do and I can think on that. That will be wonderful. Over to you, Malak sir. Malak sir, unmute your first, please.
Yeah, the important question I want to ask, when you finished your PhD and then decided to run your own business or decided to become the entrepreneurship, uh, don't you have like so many at that time, so many ifs and buts in your mind? Will it work? Will it not work? How you overcome that and how you make up your mind? Did you do some job earlier on after your PhD, or straight away after PhD you decided now it's a time to start my business? And especially abroad, there were different challenges. Can you take us through those challenges and how you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, sure. I think from my point of view, at the moment that I finished my PhD, I was ready for my entrepreneurship journey. I was even ready 3 months before. So I basically submitted my thesis 3 months before, and then for those 3 months I took the vacations and tried to think about the different ideas on the startup. What I had a runway for a few months, and I gave myself a few months of runway, and I said, okay, let's try. If there is something that happens within that time frame, nice. If not, it's fine. You even tried, and that's far better than not trying. So yeah, I basically gave myself I would say a runway for a few months, and within 6 7 months, we already had some customers lining up and some pathway towards funding. And then based on that, we said, okay, let's go another 4 or 5 months, and then within a year, we basically raised the funding, and then we could pay ourselves some decent salary. So then there was no more issue. So for me, it was quite, I would say, a calculated move. I just thought, okay, let's just try for a few months. If there is something that happens, and if there is if it becomes tangible, good. If not, it's not the end of the universe. Sorry, you're muted. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so I think thank you very much for coming and answering all the questions so patiently. You are a big inspiration and motivation for all of us, especially for somebody who's pursuing their PhD and they think that that is all over. Now they're only for academia. Normally, we have a concept here in Pakistan and subcontinent. You are doing the PhD and then you go to the industry and they say you are overqualified. But I think you are a ray of
Yeah.
hope that after doing the PhD, going industry and excelling so much. So would you like to give us any message to our young engineers who have done their masters or pursuing their PhD in somewhere between the masters and PhD? What is going to be your message to those engineers?
Well, I would say first of all, try. When you're young, you can take many chances. Don't think what others think of you. That's very important. Just even fail. You will learn a lot because for me, even starting before starting this particular work or this particular startup that I'm currently working on, before even this project, I had also failed even in the past. So that was okay. So when you're young, you can take many chances, and you learn from your failures. So fail, fine, then nothing will happen. Believe me, nothing would happen. So try
Yeah,
many things, try multiple things, be proactive, and fail. That nothing would give you the biggest lesson than failures. So
that's
uh,
great.
yeah.
That's great. I think that's the biggest motivation of
Well, sir, you are interrupted, I think so. So
try says either you
yeah.
succeed or you learn. Failure is
Yeah,
never
yeah,
an option.
Yeah, and learning at this age is quite useful because that means that you have certain skill set now that
So
other people
failure is
don't have.
no word that exists.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Okay, then
especially
thank you very
especially
much for coming to us.
if you're a young if you are a young person who is just even entering in this field in doing an undergraduate computer science, software engineering, electrical engineering, control engineering, AI, automation, any one of those. You know, it doesn't matter what your skill set is. If you think something is worth it, try it. Try it. What could be the worst thing that could happen to you? So
Yeah. Sir, thank you very much for coming to the show. And hopefully, we have some session in the future as well. And our audience and the young engineers will learn a lot from you. So that's it from Dr. Habib. From my side, if you want to ask a question, then before we close this session.
I think so. It's because already late. And Sibu sir, thank you very much for your patience, and also again thanks for your time. We will be another session, no problem. Sibu sir are with us because last time Sibu sir also had the session with us on PhD to do the master PhD in Netherlands. It is separate session already
yeah,
delivered. So another session, industrial engineering, industrial AI, something. It's in the next week. And
yeah,
Sibku sir are with us, and hopefully, inshallah, we'll have more sessions. Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sibku
yeah,
sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
yeah. Pleasure to
Thank
be
you
here.
very much. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
All right.